In 1993, two sisters vanished at a gas station. 10 years later, one of their IDs was used to book a hotel room. They were last seen just after midnight, two sisters on a late-night drive home from a birthday party in 1993. They stopped at a rural gas station for snacks and were never seen again. No witnesses, no camera footage, no signs of struggle. The car was later found parked behind the station with the doors unlocked and the headlights still on. The case went cold for nearly 3 decades. The last time anyone saw the Burke sisters was at 12:17 a.m. on October 2nd, 1993. Witnesses at a friend's 18th birthday party recalled them leaving together in Megan Burke's silver Toyota Camry, music blasting, both girls laughing, half-finished slushies in their hands. Megan was 21, her younger sister Olivia had just turned 19. They were supposed to drive 40 minutes back home through the outskirts of Vermontville, a rural pocket of upstate New York dotted with gas stations and closed-down diners. They never made it. At 12:46 a.m., Megan's car pulled into the Hollow Pine gas stop, a rundown 24-hour fuel station at the edge of Route 41. Security cameras had been broken for years. The cashier on duty, an older man named Cliff Niles, said he didn't remember them, though police would later wonder if he was lying. The car was found 2 days later, parked behind the gas station. The keys were still in the ignition. Headlights were on. Driver's side door was cracked open, the interior lights draining the battery. 2 big gulp cups, a phone with a cracked screen, and Megan's purse, empty of cash but full of receipts, lay scattered across the front seat. Olivia's phone was never found. There were no fingerprints, no blood, no signs of a fight. The girls had vanished into the night, just like that. State police canvassed the woods behind the station, deployed dogs and volunteers, even drained a nearby swamp. Nothing, no bodies, no evidence. No one had seen or heard anything. A witness from a neighboring property claimed he heard a car door slam around 1 a.m. and then nothing but silence. For 10 years, the case stalled. Tips trickled in, most were dead ends. A waitress in Albany swore she served 2 women matching the girls' description in 1996, but couldn't confirm it. A construction worker in Massachusetts said he'd met a girl named Liv who was scared of cops. Nothing stuck. In 2003, 10 years after they disappeared, something strange happened. A hotel just outside Schroon Lake logged a check-in under the name Olivia Burke. She'd used a New York State driver's license, dated 1991. The address matched the one on Olivia's original missing person file. The clerk who checked her in said she looked older than the photo, and nothing like it. But the ID passed without question. She booked a 2-night stay and left early the next morning. The room was clean, no luggage. But the hotel manager, bothered by how fast she'd left, checked the wastebasket and found a crumpled train ticket stub from Buffalo to Schroon Lake. Written on the back in jagged handwriting, "No choice." That piece of evidence was turned over to the police, but the lead went nowhere until 2021. Detective Eric Rule, a seasoned cold case investigator with a reputation for persistence, had taken the Burke file out of storage. He wasn't from the area back in '93, but something about the case kept tugging at him. He reviewed every page, every photograph, every witness statement. He kept going back to the way Megan's car was found, too neatly staged, as if someone wanted it discovered. Then the hotel in Poughkeepsie called. On August 17th, 2021, a woman checked into the Elmwood Inn under the name Megan Burke. The clerk flagged the ID as suspicious. It was an old, laminated New York license. The photo was blurry. The woman looked nothing like it. The clerk told police she was in her late 30s or early 40s, brown hair, green eyes, jittery, like she was on edge. She didn't speak much and refused housekeeping. She was gone by morning, but she left behind something in the trash: a burner phone, a manila envelope, and a single photograph. The phone was locked, but the envelope contained 2 things: an Albany transit map and a gas station receipt dated October 2nd, 1993, timestamp 12:47 a.m. The photo inside was old, water damaged. It showed 2 young women, one clearly Olivia, the other unknown, standing in what looked like a basement with plastic sheeting on the walls. Behind them, barely visible, was a man in the shadows holding a shotgun. Detective Rule handed the case to Special Agent Tara Langston with the FBI's Violent Crimes Unit. She had worked cartel busts, drug cases, kidnappings. This one had a little of everything. Langston's team ran the receipt forensics. The barcode was a match for the hollow pine gas stop system, the exact location where the girls vanished. More damning, the timestamp was 1 minute after Megan's car was seen pulling in, meaning it had to be purchased by someone inside the station, possibly even one of the sisters or their abductor. The photograph was digitized, enhanced. For weeks, agents tried to identify the unknown man. He had no clear facial features, just a stocky build, a goatee, and a long scar across the right forearm. A tip came in from a former corrections officer. The scar matched a man who'd served time in Clinton Correctional Facility in the 90s for weapons trafficking. His name, Clay Raniker. He'd been paroled in 2001. And in 2003, the same year of the hotel check-in in Shroon Lake, he'd gone completely off the grid. Langston sent a warrant to trace any financial activity connected to Clay Raniker. Nothing. No cards, no phones, just a ghost. But then a strange pattern emerged. Between 2004 and 2019, every few years, a small deposit, exactly $900, had been made into a private bank account in Buffalo under the name J.L. Hark. The source? Untraceable. The activity stopped in 2020, and in early 2021, just before the suspicious check-in at the Elmwood Inn, a transfer was attempted to withdraw all funds from that account. The withdrawal was denied due to outdated identification. That same day, Albany Amtrak surveillance captured a woman matching the hotel clerk's description of Megan Burke boarding a train heading south. Langston believed she was running, but from what or who? The real question wasn't where she was going. It was where she'd been and what she knew. Before we continue, let us know in the comments where you are watching from today and what time you are currently watching this video. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. Special Agent Tara Langston had dealt with hardened criminals and missing persons before, but this case hit differently. Two sisters vanished from a gas station in 1993. A decade later, someone used one of their IDs, and now, nearly 30 years later, another check-in under the other sister's name? Something was wrong, very wrong, and she could feel it. Langston wasn't one to waste time. She flew out to Albany and sat down with Detective Eric Rule at the local precinct. They pored over the files again, but this time with new eyes and fresh connections. "So," she began, flipping through a folder, "you think Clay Raniker was involved? He was nearby. Scar matches. He vanished just after that first hotel sighting. It's not proof, but it's more than we've ever had." Langston closed the file. "Let's find him." It wasn't that simple. Raniker's last known address had been bulldozed years ago. No bank cards, no phone records. They needed to dig another way. They started with known associates. Raniker had a half-brother, Jesse Raniker, still in the system for petty theft. Jesse had been out on parole, working construction in a rough part of Troy. Langston and Rule drove out the next morning. The streets were quiet, a few barking dogs behind chain-link fences, groups of men loitering near corner stores. They found Jesse working on drywall in a crumbling house being flipped by a shady developer. Langston pulled out her badge, FBI. "Need a word." Jesse was lean, twitchy, and sunburned. "This about Clay?" She gave a slight nod. "You seen him?" "Not in years," he said quickly. Too quickly. Rule stepped forward. "Where's your phone, Jesse? I don't got one." Rule snatched it from his pocket before he could react. They didn't need a warrant for what came next. The texts on Jesse's phone told the story. Just days before the woman checked in using Megan Burke's ID, Jesse had received a message. "She's trying to run. If she talks, we're all dead." Another number had sent him a name, Burke Elmwood Inn. Langston narrowed her eyes. "Your brother's alive, and he's watching her." That night, Jesse was placed under surveillance. They knew he'd lead them somewhere eventually, and he did. 2 nights later, just after midnight, Jesse got into a beat-up pickup and drove an hour north past Saranac Lake into thick woods near an old logging site. Langston and Rule followed in an unmarked black SUV, lights off, keeping their distance. The truck pulled into a clearing. Jesse got out and walked toward a small shack, barely visible under moonlight. No electricity, no sounds. Then a second man stepped out. Clay Raniker. Langston's heart thumped as she radioed backup. Visual confirmation on Raniker. Request tactical support. Suspect may be armed. Before the team could arrive, gunshots echoed across the trees. 2 sharp pops, then silence. Langston and Rule ducked behind their SUV, weapons drawn. "Who's firing?" Rule hissed. They didn't wait to find out. The agents pushed forward, weaving through trees, guns raised. As they neared the shack, they spotted Jesse on the ground, groaning, blood leaking from his leg. "Where's Clay?" Langston shouted. Jesse pointed weakly toward the trees. He ran, took something with him. A girl. Rule cursed and chased after the sounds of rustling branches. Langston stayed, pressing a tourniquet on Jesse's thigh. "What girl? Who was she?" Jesse's eyes fluttered. It was her, Olivia, still alive. He's had her this whole time. Langston's stomach flipped. Rule returned 10 minutes later, furious. "He's gone. Lost him. There's tire tracks. He had a car stashed in the woods." Langston stood. "Then we hunt him down." They searched the shack. It was filthy, moldy food, old newspapers, a stained mattress in the corner. But one room in the back had been cleaner. Fresh bedding, books, a small TV. A woman's sweater. Langston stared at a photo nailed to the wall. 2 young women, clearly Olivia and Megan, smiling at a lake. Handwritten at the bottom. They were happy here. They were being kept, hidden, maybe separated. Maybe together at one point, but alive. At least Olivia. Langston turned to Rule. "She's been living in this room." They collected everything. DNA samples, hair, fingerprints. Every scrap would go through the lab. 3 days later, Langston got a hit on the burner phone left at the Elmwood Inn. A number had been contacted frequently, registered under a name that didn't exist, but the address linked to an old train depot converted into apartments outside Binghamton. This time they went in fast. Langston led a small tactical unit to the building, quiet as shadows. They knocked once, no answer. Then they rammed the door. Inside was a dingy, sparsely furnished space. Someone had left in a hurry. A bowl of cereal sat unfinished on the table, clothes still in drawers, a duffel bag under the bed with 6 burner phones inside. Rule dug into the nightstand and found an ID, the original Megan Burke license. "Someone was using this to travel," he muttered. Then Langston opened the closet. A folded newspaper was taped to the inside wall. The headline, "Burke Case Reopened After 28 Years." And written across the front page in thick black marker were 3 chilling words, "I'm not done." It was a threat or a warning, maybe both. Langston ordered agents to canvass every bus and train station in the area. A woman matching Olivia's description, now likely in her late 40s, had been spotted at a convenience store 2 days earlier. Surveillance showed her buying prepaid cards, a flashlight, and bandages. She was on the move, still running, still hiding, but from Clay or something else. That same day, a phone call came through from a payphone in a small town near the Vermont border. The voice was soft, shaky. "I need help," the woman said. "He's going to find me again." Langston's voice steadied. "Is this Olivia Burke?" A long pause. "I can't say, but I need someone to meet me. Tonight, there's a place. I'll leave a map." And then the line went dead. A map? Hours later, police found an envelope taped to a mailbox near the payphone. Inside was a crude hand-drawn map of an abandoned hunting lodge deep in the Catskills and a note that read, "Come alone." Midnight. Langston looked at the clock. It was 5:47 p.m. She folded the map and handed it to Rule. "Get ready. I'm going in." Shadows were already stretching across the mountains, and someone out there, either Olivia or a ghost from the past, was waiting. The road leading up to the old hunting lodge was a narrow strip of cracked pavement swallowed by trees on both sides. Agent Tara Langston's SUV bounced over deep potholes as she gripped the wheel, the engine humming low. She was alone, just like the note had asked. No backup, no surveillance drones, no second car following behind. And yet she wasn't stupid. Her weapon sat ready in the holster beneath her jacket, and a second piece, a smaller Glock, was tucked at her ankle. She had a small body mic taped under her collar, sending audio to a parked van 2 miles back. Her team was monitoring from there, ready to swoop in if things turned bad. It was nearing midnight when she pulled up to the lodge. The place looked deserted. 2 stories tall, wood rotted through in spots, one of the second-floor windows busted open, the shutters hanging off their hinges. The porch sagged. A wind chime rattled somewhere inside, making the quiet night feel tense too still. Langston stepped out slowly. Gravel crunched under her boots. The air smelled like moss and rain-soaked bark. She knocked twice on the door, then 3 times, the signal they'd agreed on in the note. For a long moment nothing, then creak. The door eased open on its own. Inside, a single lantern lit the main room. Dust floated through the beam like tiny ghosts, and a threadbare rug covered the creaking wooden floor. The furniture was old, but someone had been there recently. There were 2 opened cans of soup on the table and a folded blanket on the couch. Langston cleared the room, 1 step at a time. That's when she saw her, a woman crouched in the back corner, her eyes wide, her hands trembling as she held a fire poker like a weapon. Langston held up both palms. "My name is Tara Langston. I'm with the FBI. I'm not here to hurt you." The woman didn't move. "You called me," Langston said softly, "from the payphone near the Vermont border." "I shouldn't have," the woman whispered. Langston stepped closer slowly. "Are you Olivia Burke?" Silence. Then a nod. Tears rolled down the woman's cheek. She looked thinner than her photos from years ago, older, yes, but still striking. Her eyes were the same. Langston knelt. "You've been missing for nearly 30 years. "I wasn't missing," Olivia whispered. "He just wouldn't let me go." Langston's jaw tightened. "Clay Raniker?" Olivia looked away. "He said we had to disappear, that if I tried to leave, he'd kill Megan. So I stayed." Langston's heart sank. "Is Megan still alive?" I don't know." Olivia's voice cracked. "I haven't seen her since 2005. He said she'd been moved, that she was with someone else. I think he sold her." Langston's stomach turned. "Where did he take her?" "I don't know," Olivia said quickly. "He never told me. But I know who helped him, a man named Griggs. Big guy, tattoo on his neck, a black swan." Langston's mind raced. That name had popped up once before. Griggs had been a former corrections officer, fired for smuggling contraband to inmates. No known address, but the black swan tattoo matched a record from 15 years ago. "Do you have any proof?" Langston asked. "I kept records," Olivia whispered. "I hid them in a suitcase under the floorboard upstairs." They moved fast. Langston followed her to the 2nd floor, stepping carefully to avoid loud creaks. In the back bedroom, Olivia dropped to her knees and pulled back a loose plank. Beneath it sat a worn blue suitcase zipped shut, covered in dust. Langston opened it. Inside were notebooks, receipts, photos, maps, years of quiet suffering documented with chilling precision. There were names, locations, even what looked like a schedule, dates, and times of moves, initials beside them. Langston turned the pages with shaking fingers. This was it, the break they needed. Then downstairs the floor creaked. Both women froze. Langston's hand went to her gun. A shadow passed by the kitchen window. Someone was outside. Langston dropped to a crouch and whispered, "Stay quiet. Don't move." She crept to the stairs, scanning every corner. Another creak, closer now, then bang. The front door slammed open. 2 men burst in, one with a shotgun, the other wielding a knife. Clay wasn't with them. These were enforcers. Langston fired first. 2 rounds dropped the man with the knife. He hit the floor with a grunt, bleeding from the shoulder. The shotgun roared, missed by inches, splinters flying from the doorframe. Langston dove behind the couch, returned fire, striking the 2nd man in the leg. He screamed, dropped the gun, and tried to crawl away. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Langston looked up in horror. They hadn't come alone. "Olivia, move!" A 3rd man lunged into the room from the hallway. He'd gotten in through the back somehow. He grabbed Olivia by the hair and yanked her down the hallway. Pistol pressed to her head. "Drop it," he shouted. Langston aimed her gun square at his chest. "Let her go. I'll kill her. You try, you die first." The man hesitated, sweat pouring down his face. Then Olivia's elbow slammed into his ribs. He stumbled off balance. Langston fired center mass. He dropped instantly. Olivia fell to the ground, coughing. Langston rushed to her, checking her pulse. "Are you okay?" Olivia nodded weakly. More headlights cut through the trees outside. Her team had arrived. Tactical units stormed in, clearing every room. The injured were cuffed. Paramedics rushed in to treat wounds. Olivia sat silent, wrapped in a blanket, while Langston handed over the suitcase to evidence techs. "Make sure nothing gets lost," she warned. As the dust settled, Olivia finally spoke again. "There's one more name you need to find," she said. Clay kept talking about someone higher up. Someone who gave the orders, called him Sparrow. He wore a badge, Langston frowned. "Badge, as in police?" Olivia nodded. "He knew things, told Clay when to move us, when the cops were getting close." Langston's skin crawled. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Someone inside the system had helped hide the Burke sisters for decades. Someone with power, connections, and Langston was going to find them. The rain came down hard the next morning, turning the dirt road outside the lodge into thick, sticky mud. FBI agent Tara Langston stood under the metal awning of a local sheriff's substation in upstate New York, staring at a name on a whiteboard. Sparrow, not a code name they recognized from any official FBI operations. But Olivia Burke was clear. Sparrow was someone powerful, someone inside law enforcement who had helped orchestrate the disappearance and long-term cover-up of the Burke sisters. Langston sipped her coffee, eyes scanning a case file full of old reports. Then her phone buzzed. It was Trent, her tech specialist. "I ran the names Olivia gave us," he said, "and cross-checked those movement dates. Guess what? Every time the sisters were moved, there was a patrol shift change in the same area. Someone was covering tracks, real careful." Langston's heart beat faster. "You find a name?" Trent paused. One match kept popping up. Sheriff Raymond Coulter. Been in this region since the late 80s. Retired in 2015, but he still consults. Known to use the handle Sparrow on hunting forums. Langston's stomach twisted. "You sure?" "Positive. And guess what? He used to run the department that responded when the Burke sisters first went missing in '93. She didn't wait. Langston was in her SUV within minutes, heading for Coulter's cabin near Lake Placid. The rain never let up, and every twist of the road reminded her that this could go sideways fast. By the time she pulled up the gravel driveway, the storm had soaked everything. Coulter's cabin sat just past the tree line, a small one-story structure with smoke curling from the chimney. A pickup truck sat in the drive. Langston exited slowly, hand near her weapon. She knocked twice, no answer again, still nothing. She circled the side, keeping low. Through the front window, she could see movement. A shadow, someone pacing. Then she caught the glint of a rifle barrel near the curtains. She dove for cover. A shot rang out, glass shattered behind her. Another blast ripped through the wooden porch post. Langston rolled behind a tree, unholstered her gun, and radioed in. "This is Langston, shots fired. Suspect is armed inside the cabin. I need backup." She waited, soaked to the bone, breathing hard. Another shot, this one hit the tree beside her, splinters flying. She had no choice but to move. Langston ran low, fast, darting toward the back of the cabin. She kicked open a side door and swept in with her weapon raised. The living room was empty, but she could hear the creak of boots upstairs. The old man had the high ground. She crept up the steps one by one, heart pounding in her throat. A door at the end of the hall slammed shut. Langston didn't hesitate. She kicked it open. Sheriff Raymond Coulter stood there, rifle in hand, face twisted with years of guilt and stubborn defiance. "You have no idea what you're walking into," he growled. Langston raised her gun. "Drop it, Sheriff." "You don't get it," he said, lowering the barrel slightly. "This wasn't just me. This went all the way up. Judges, agents, they made me part of it. Said it was national security. Girls got in the way of something bigger." Langston narrowed her eyes. "What girls?" "The Burke sisters," he said with a hollow laugh. "They saw something they weren't supposed to, back in '93. A drug run, wrong place, wrong time. They were supposed to disappear quietly. Clay Reniker made it messy. And Megan?" Langston asked. "Where is she?" Coulter's jaw clenched. "She's alive," he said. "But you'll never find her. She was sold twice. Changed names, faces. Might not even remember who she is anymore." Langston stepped closer. "We can still bring her home." Coulter looked down at his rifle. Langston's finger hovered near the trigger. He sighed. Then suddenly he lifted the rifle again. Langston fired. One shot center chest. Coulter dropped to the floor, his rifle sliding across the room. Langston rushed in, checked his pulse. Backup stormed in moments later, weapons drawn. "He's down," she called out. In the basement of Coulter's cabin, they found sealed boxes of documents, ledgers, wire transfers, photos, evidence tying dozens of corrupt officials to the Burke case, including high-level names in the DEA and state law enforcement. It was a spiderweb of dirty deals, false reports, and smuggled humans. But most important of all, one worn envelope. Inside it, a photograph dated 2007. Megan Burke, thinner, hair dyed black, standing next to a man in front of a rundown motel. On the back, scribbled in messy writing, "Georgia. Safe for now." Langston stared at the photo for a long time. This case, the disappearance of two sisters from a rural gas station in 1993, had led to corruption, abduction, and years of silence. And yet, even after 3 decades, the truth was starting to bleed through the cracks. By the time she returned to headquarters, Olivia Burke had been placed under witness protection. She'd agreed to testify in front of a grand jury, naming every person she could remember who was involved. Dozens of arrests were already underway, but Langston couldn't shake the image of Megan. She was still out there, and now at least there was a place to start looking. Langston pulled out her phone, flipped to the photo again, and zoomed in on the motel sign in the background. 2 words, Golden Star. It was enough. She grabbed her jacket, loaded her Glock, and headed back out into the rain. The case wasn't closed. Not yet. If you like this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for the part 2 of this true crime story. Also, in order to strengthen our community, let us know in the comments where you are watching from and what time you are currently watching this video.